Somewhere in your kitchen, there is a small machine that quietly turns water into stone. You open the freezer door, drop a cube into your glass, and think nothing of it. It costs you nothing. It happens on its own. And yet, this simple, boring little cube is one of the strangest things humanity has ever chased. For thousands of years, empires paid entire fortunes for it. Kings sent runners across mountains to bring it home before it melted. Merchants risked their fortunes shipping it across oceans in wooden boats. Cities were built in the middle of deserts just to store it. And then, one day, someone plugged in a machine, and all of it disappeared almost overnight. This is the story of ice. Humanity fought for thousands of years to reach the cold. Then we pressed a button, and it was always there. To understand ice, you have to remember what the world was like before it. In summer, meat rotted within a day. Milk turned bitter by noon. A wound infection meant a burning fever, and there was almost nothing to bring it down. A child with a hot forehead was a family holding its breath. Cold, real cold, was not a comfort. It was a life. It could preserve food long enough to save a starving village. It could break a fever long enough to save a life. But cold only existed in the mountains, in the deep of winter, and in caves that stayed dark. Near the equator, in every desert, along most of the trade routes of the ancient world, cold simply could not exist. Until someone learned how to build it. So they built it. Not with electricity, not with chemicals. With mud, with wind, and with the sky itself. In the arid Iranian plateau, more than 2,400 years ago, Persian engineers built structures that should not have been possible. They called them yakhchāls, ice pits. From the outside, they looked like giant beehives of clay, rising 30, 40, sometimes 60 feet into the desert air. Inside, they were something else entirely. The walls were made of a special mortar called sarouj, a mixture of sand, clay, egg whites, lime, goat hair, and ash, precisely proportioned to be almost impenetrable to heat. Cool water was channeled in through underground aqueducts called qanats, and wind towers called badgirs pulled hot air out through the top of the dome. On cold desert nights, thin layers of water froze on shaded surfaces, and workers cut them into blocks. In the middle of summer, when the desert outside climbed above 40 degrees Celsius, the ice inside remained solid. A civilization living in one of the hottest regions on Earth had built refrigerators without electricity, from mud. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ancient world, kings and emperors were doing something simpler and far crueler. Alexander the Great, during his campaigns in Persia, is said to have dug trenches, filled them with snow brought down from the mountains, and stored wine and fruit inside. In Rome, according to popular accounts, Emperor Nero sent runners 80 kilometers to Mount Terminillo to bring back fresh snow. The journey had to be perfectly timed, because if the snow melted before reaching the banquet, the runner could pay with his life. Snow, flavored with honey and fruit juice, was one of the rarest luxuries in the ancient world. In China, records show ice pits being dug and used for royal courts as far back as the Zhou dynasty, over 1,000 years before Christ. Everywhere, in every empire, the pattern was the same. The people who ruled had cold. The people who did not, did not. Ice was not a luxury of taste. It was a marker of power. Whoever could keep something cold in the middle of summer was, quite literally, closer to the gods than anyone else. For most of human history, ice was something you had to walk to. It stayed where it was born. Then, in 1805, at a family picnic in Massachusetts, two rich Boston brothers were sitting outside enjoying cold drinks. One of them made a joke. What would people pay for a glass of cold water in the Caribbean, in the middle of summer, right now? His name was Frederic Tudor. He was 22 years old. and he did not treat it as a joke. The next year, in 1806, he cut 130 tons of ice from a pond on his family farm, loaded it onto a ship in Boston Harbor, and sent it to Martinique. Almost everyone in Boston laughed at him. No captain wanted to sail with a cargo that melted. Nobody had ever built an ice house in the tropics to store what arrived. The first shipment melted on the dock. He lost the equivalent of a small fortune. He tried again. He lost more. By 1812, 6 years in, Frederic Tudor was in a Boston debtors' prison. His name was already a joke in the city. But he came back. He learned that sawdust from local lumber mills, a waste product nobody wanted, was one of the most powerful insulators on Earth. He learned to build ice houses in the tropics before the ships arrived. He built the very market he needed by giving cold drinks away for free until people could not imagine life without them. By 1833, 27 years after his first laughingstock voyage, he sent a shipment all the way to Calcutta, India, and it arrived intact. Henry David Thoreau, watching Tudor's men cut ice from Walden Pond one winter, wrote a single sentence about it. "The pure Walden water is mingled with the sacred water of the Ganges." Frederic Tudor died in 1864, one of the wealthiest men in Massachusetts. He had turned frozen ponds into gold. Ice from New England became so famous, so pure, and so improbable that other countries tried to copy it. In 1844, a company began shipping ice from Wenham Lake in Massachusetts across the Atlantic to England. Queen Victoria granted it a royal warrant. The ice was displayed in a London shop window in a 2-foot cube, and Londoners lined up simply to look at it. It was said that people could read a newspaper through a 21-inch block of Wenham ice. Norwegian ice exporters, watching the success, went so far as to rename one of their own lakes Wenham Lake, so they could sell their ice under a more prestigious name. But the most human moment of this entire trade was recorded in Calcutta. When the first shipment of ice arrived in India in 1833, a man reached out and touched a block for the very first time in his life. He had lived his entire life in a country where ice did not naturally exist. He screamed as if he had been burned and pulled his hand back into cold water to warm it up. He had no word for what he had just felt. For most of humanity, this was ice, not a comfort, not a habit, a shock. Today, we still argue about ice, but the argument has changed. In modern bars, especially in Japan, a good bartender will hand-cut a single large clear cube from a block, using a small saw and chisels. It will take him nearly 10 minutes. He is not just cooling your drink. He is controlling how fast your drink is being watered down. Because ice is not just cold. Ice is dilution. A cloudy cube from your freezer has trapped air inside it. It melts faster. It waters your drink quickly. A clear cube, made from slowly frozen filtered water, has almost no air. It melts slowly, cooling for longer without changing the taste. This is why a proper whiskey is often served over one large hand-cut sphere, not a handful of small cubes. There is a small chemistry lesson hidden in this. Slow freezing produces clear ice because impurities and gas are pushed out of the water as it hardens. Fast freezing traps them in. Every time you drop a cheap, cloudy cube into a good drink, you are watching centuries of ice knowledge quietly disappear. By the late 19th century, the natural ice industry had grown into one of the largest in the United States. At its peak, 90,000 people and 25,000 horses worked on frozen lakes each winter, sawing giant blocks from the surface and packing them into insulated barns for the summer. Norway alone was exporting 1 million tons of ice a year. And then, one man made it all vanish. His name was Carl von Linde, a German engineer, and in the 1870s, he built a machine that could make ice from air and compression. It worked. It was expensive at first, unreliable at first, easy to laugh at first. But by the 1930s, mass-produced electric refrigerators were entering middle-class homes. By 1940, 5 million of them had been sold in America. The men who cut ice from lakes lost their jobs within a single generation. The empire of ice houses that stretched across the Northeast collapsed almost silently. Whole towns lost their winter income and never got it back. And yet, from that same machine, something extraordinary was born. Today, an unbroken chain of refrigeration connects almost every food you eat, every vaccine you receive, every organ waiting for a transplant. The cold chain, as it is called, is one of the quietest inventions in human history. It saves millions of lives every year without ever being noticed. There is one place on Earth where scientists still deliberately go looking for ice. Deep inside the Antarctic ice sheet, at a Russian research station called Vostok, drilling teams have pulled up columns of ice more than 3 kilometers long. Each layer of that ice is a page in the atmosphere's history. Trapped inside are tiny bubbles of air, sealed the moment the snow that made them fell. The oldest of those bubbles is over 800,000 years old. In them, we can measure the exact composition of the air that mammoths and the first humans breathed. Ice, it turns out, remembers. And then there is a stranger truth. Ice is not just here, it is everywhere. On Jupiter's moon Europa, a shell of solid ice covers a global ocean of liquid water containing twice as much water as all of Earth's oceans combined. On Saturn's moon Enceladus, giant plumes of ice and water erupt from cracks in the South Pole, spraying into space. NASA scientists now believe that if there is life anywhere else in our solar system, it is most likely swimming, right now, in one of those hidden oceans beneath kilometers of ice. In 2024, a spacecraft called Europa Clipper was launched, aimed directly at that world, to find out if the ice in your freezer might have distant cousins that are alive. In a mud brick dome in the Persian desert, on a runner's back racing down a Roman mountain, inside a Boston pond cut into chessboard squares, in a 2-foot cube displayed in a London shop window, in an unbroken cold chain carrying a vaccine to a village 1,000 miles away, inside an 800,000-year-old air bubble, beneath the surface of a moon of Jupiter where something may be swimming right now. The same little cold thing. The same little cold thing that just fell out of your freezer, without a sound, into a glass of water that you did not even bother to look at. Humanity fought for thousands of years to reach the cold. Then we pressed a button, and it was always there. Ice was never a luxury. It was a struggle. And now it is a habit. Our next story is another habit hiding in your kitchen. Something you drink every single morning without thinking. Something that once cost more than gold by weight. Something that reshaped empires, sparked wars, and changed the shape of an entire century. Coffee. If you want to keep following where these small things lead, stay close. See you in the next chapter.